Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave.
These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss.
Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven. No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through from Peyton. He's just gonna solidify everything within those.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
NKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Lores, you're gonna be able to find these shots true.
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an Avalon immediately comes back to fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2-3. So back and forth.
Hi. I think we're live. We can't see the game. We can't see anything. So we're gonna get that up. Spec, how we doing,
Yo,
man?
I'm good. Rolled out of bed and looking to get into some EU action. This is the first game of the mid-season tournament, I believe, and of course we are starting with a better region and a repeat matchup that I am absolutely salivating to get my teeth into. Was good. In the Fletch, Spectron will be bringing in all the action in the first match of the CGL Season 14 mid-season playoffs.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even call it teeth. I'd call it a knife. Like Junker Queen's knife. Because we've got Queen's Gambit here versus Plate Group. Like you said, a rematch from earlier in this season where Queen's Gambit got the better of Plate Group 3-1. And this is a really, really interesting matchup because even now that, you know, there's been some changes and some meta updates since that first matchup, Queen's Gambit's still going to do what they're going to do. They're going to play Junker Queen. That's just what they do. And as for Plate Group, nobody's really watched them play. We haven't had them streamed this season that I could find. You know, they are, I believe, the defending champions of the EU PC Master Tier, or the EU Master Tier as a whole, I guess. So yeah, this is going to be a really, really interesting matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be definitely a learning experience, I think, for everybody involved. You know, defending champion is pretty... It's a high bar to live up to, and I believe we've already seen so far, Plate Group has suffered a loss. I believe they're number 2 seed, if I'm not much mistaken. So they've got they're 3 seed even.
Yeah, this is 2-3 seed. Yeah.
They've got a lot of work to do then.
Yeah, so I mean, I believe that the top seed here in this playoff is going to be 07. They haven't dropped a map. They've only played 3 matches though. They had a bye in week 1. So I also don't know how many games we've watched of 07. So any kind of matchup here in this tournament, you know, later on, I mean, I think it's going to be close across the board, right? That said, this tournament, there's only 4 teams. I'm not actually sure of the full number of the Masters tier here, but there's only 4 teams. It's a single elimination bracket. So you lose, you're out, right?
Yep. I mean, first of 3 as well, just going to Excava right there. A lot of the time for elimination matches, you might even see like BO5, sorry. You might even see BO7. Yeah, that's not going to happen. You get to 3, your opponent is going to get kicked down into the gutter, so might just be only 40 minutes or so separates maybe even the defending champion from season 13 get eliminated here in round 1. You know, just could be off the axe of the Queen's Gambit that happens. We're just waiting on lobby right now while we get into the action. We don't have a set map pool this time, I believe, so it's just going to be individual picks. Take a look at the rosters now, though, so we can take a gander at the 10 players who are going to be competing.
All right, first up, we've got Queen's Gambit. Got the better of this team in week number 1. Meow Bacteria on the DPS. Weo on the tank. Don't let that rat distract you from the fact that they're probably going to be playing Junker Queen, and then Vincio and Nunji in that back line. A new addition here for Queen's Gambit. Did not play in the SNO match that I casted a couple of weeks ago. Bacteria coming in here for this lineup. I'm pretty sure that they thought Weo was going to play DPS throughout the rest of the season with their backup Phantom taking over the Junker Queen duties, but I guess able to get Bacteria in this lineup, looking to continue their undefeated season.
Yeah, I mean, I personally would love to see some Wrecking Ball. I am one of Ball's biggest fans, but I somehow don't think that's too likely at all. So that's just going to be how it's going to end up playing out. Of course, this isn't a fantastic Queen patch right now. I think, especially due to Orisa getting some buffs and Queen having a really rough matchup into her, it's not crazy strong, but Queen's Gambit just one-tricking her, having that much experience, might be enough to turn the tides. Their opponents, of course, going to be Plate Group. We can take a gander at them now as well. And we're going straight into the head-to-head. Gangnam, Bergenworth, Bipolar Bear, Kota, and Jinx. And I gotta say, Bipolar Bear is still such a great easy name.
So I don't actually know much about Plate Group in its current form. You know, like I said, the defending champions of the Masters tier, so no slouches here. But we do know what our first map is going to be here in round 1 of this mid-season playoff. It's going to be Oasis. Oasis, you know, long-time map, been in the game the whole time. Pretty flexible map. You can run Rush on a map like University. When you go to City Center, it's a little more reliant on the dive. I really expect Queen's Gambit to just do what they do. They are very, very good at this Junker Queen. They don't really care about, you know, whether Junker Queen is strong or not. Like, they have still just been dominating all season long with this Junker Queen comp. And on the other side, I mean, Plate Group, since that week 1 matchup, they haven't lost a map. The Gangnam, Bergenworth, Bipolar Bear, Kota, and Jinx to get a quick refresher. But yeah, ever since they lost to Queen's Gambit in week number 1, they've only gotten better.
Yeah, so can take a gander at the maps now. Looks like we've got Oasis coming up first, as Fletch mentioned, and after that, while the map types will be locked in, it's anybody's pick, so there might be a bit of a comeback mechanic here. I gotta say, I don't think Oasis is the best Queen map whatsoever. I think these kind of longer start lines is much going to favor like an Orisa, the kind of areas you're gonna ball around. Again, that added tankiness, that survivability, it's gonna really help out with a Plate Group should they decide to play that. Queen's Gambit might have their work cut out for them. And as we really are seeing that value, especially off the rampages of Weo, looks like we are going to be in here. Gotta say, I've never seen the maps in these angles. I look here and I actually don't know where I am.
Hey, I know where we're at now.
Here now, but obviously.
There's a Roadhog in there. I'm not really sure who's the red team. There's that Junker Queen. That gives me my answer. This is going to be the spawn door of Queen's Gambit. So it's going to be a Junker Queen mirror on City Center.
The difference is going to be in the DPS. Echo's going to have more burst damage, and overall, it's going to help with the tank trade, but Genji helps sync up with the pull, the axe especially. So Gangnam's likely going to be stacking on top of Bipolar Bear. Meow is going to be assassinating where possible.
All right, well, the first one to fall is going to be Vincio down to the shurikens of Gangnam, who continues to output all of that damage. There will be a trade as the cousin of the Genji going to get one, but Gangnam gets a deflection. 2 for 2 here in this very first fight, but it's Bipolar Bear that is still alive. The tank getting the cut down onto Nunji, and it is just Bacteria left alive.
Yeah, and that might go down soon as well. Bacteria is able to keep tagging on the point, actually. Just buying some time for those respawns.
Wait, Gangnam able to get rid of Meow, dashes through that Echo who returned from spawn. Weo will be back soon as well, but first flip gonna belong to Plate Group.
Yeah, by the looks of things, 5% on their favor, now going to be increasing, and I gotta say, a team performance from all of them. Nobody really going above and beyond, maybe other than Gangnam, but just going to be everybody accruing towards those ults equally. Queen's Gambit pushing back in, and they might be able to charge even a duplicate here.
All right, Cleanse already out from the side of Queen's Gambit. Plate Group also going to use theirs. Recall forced by Bergenworth, trying to find the Lucio, but Vincio able to slide away. Pulse Bomb ready to go, but Meow has opened up this fight with a pick on it to Koda. Weo, you see up there, very, very low. Backs around the corner, gets the healing, gonna use that Kitsune Rush from the side of Plate Group. Jinx so very low, has to get away, but cannot live. By Polar Bear trying to do everything that they can with the help of this Kitsune Rush, but a knife to the face, never going to be a good thing, as Queen's Gambit will take this fight if they can get rid of the Tracer.
I mean, Kitsune Rush is proportionally less strong the more members you're down, right? Because it doesn't amplify that many more people. Not a bad idea to try and clutch out the fight using it, but it just doesn't do enough, realistically. And especially with Meow's duplicate to guarantee things, then that means it's Queen's Gambit finding a flip. 60% though is a very, very respectable percentage now. The most important matchup is going to be these beats versus these rampages, because if you just trade them out equally, then it's probably the Blade of Gangnam that wins up the fight.
All right, Dragon Blade out, but the rampage is the answer. Vincio, this late beat going to come through. They're going to live through the Dragon Blade as it goes right back into the sheath and cut down one more time by the knife of Weo is Jinx. By Polar Bear going to answer with one of their own and hits a two-man rampage. By Polar Bear has decided to enter the conversation here for 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple ult trade there. Blade to force the beat, and then Rampage when the beat expires. It gets a smidge more complicated once Widowfire rips their own Rampage, of course. They've got a beat as well, but the result is the same. Queen's Gambit now just to Kitsune Rush. Plate Group working with only a Pulse Bomb. You'd love a pick here, but you almost can't really expect when there's no good Pulse targets.
Off on the side is Bergenworth and Kota looking for that Pulse Bomb target as Queen's Gambit prepare to assault the point with this Kitsune Rush. Pulse Bomb out, Nunji gets the cleanse, so no fatalities there, but Jinx gonna get the better of the Kiriko duel there, as I mean, they're gonna be come out swinging here. Is Queen's Gambit 2 picks for the price of 1 death, trying to get rid of this Kiriko. Weo able to come in there, no knife in hand, just gonna be able to punch that Kiriko out, and one more time it's just Bergenworth wasting time as Queen's Gambit gonna take it back.
Last fight territory here means that only Plate Group gonna need 1 fight, so they can just bank all these ultimates up, try like a double support Blade fight, for example. Queen's Gambit though, they've got some time, they can charge in some ults of their own, and now with choke control, especially with the Genji, they should be able to control it a little bit better than they could with the Echo.
Plate Group sitting at 99%, they only need 1 more fight here as Queen's Gambit waits for them at this door. Bacteria with a Pulse Bomb ready to go, now locked in a Tracer duel, forces the recall out of Bergenworth. Has to get away, does Bergenworth, as the Sound Barrier and the Kitsune Rush are going to come out. Gangham's Dragon Blade with the Kitsune Rush, it's just so much damage, so fast on the swings. Meow going to be able to get rid of Bipolar Bear to follow up on the Rampage, and now gonna pull a blade of their own. Meow has basically single-handedly turned this fight, and Plate Group are gonna be lucky to get another touch.
I don't think they do, especially with Gangnam going down. Your best touch is going to be like Bergenworth. The ball coming back by Polar Bear, booped, OT started, but at what cost?
All right. Wrecking Ball able to get the touch by Polar Bear, rolling around. Pulse Bomb not going to find the target there for Bergenworth, but able to get rid of Bacteria. So a great pick there early, but no recall anymore. Have to get out, but cannot. Punch in the jaw by Vincio. Gangnam has also returned to the fight, but it is 2 for 2. Trades continue to come through. Kiriko very low, gets the TP off. Still absolute. The Genji and the Lucio going to be able to come together to get that kill. It is a 2 versus 2 on this point for the point. 99 to 99. Reinforcements returning for both sides. Vincio trying to get that healing out. Gangnam and Bipolar Bear so very low. Vincio also getting very close to this sound barrier right now. Needs to stay alive long enough to get it off as Bergenworth is cut in half by Meow. The health bar is not looking great right now for Plate Group. Force the cleanse out. Rio has also returned on the Wrecking Ball, but Meow has kept the dash resets going, and they very close to letting that wick burn down as the minefield gonna come out. Meow has another Dragon Blade here, gonna pull it. Not gonna find any kills, but another touch comes through from Bergenworth. That recall, though, going to force themselves away from the point. Not enough time with that time wick. It'll be Queen's Gambit's point.
That was intense both ways. I mean, gets forced all the way to 99-99. Queen's Gambit obviously able to take it in the end. And it was just off the back of they had point control. Obviously, getting that contested is really quite insane. It just comes down to whose ults are a little bit closer. It ends up their Queen's Gambit. You can charge just to beat the Blade a little bit earlier than Plate Group can. And honestly, that's the straw that broke the camel's back there, because it really could have gone either way there, as I mentioned. Here on Garden's going to be a little bit different. Not even the attempt for the Echo here, just straight on the Genjis. Both just want to stack on that front line. No compositional differences at all, of course. It's just down to execution that's going to make the difference.
Here we go for Garden by Polar Bear and Play Group. They are trying to, find a little bit of this poke early. Not a whole lot of poke to be spoken of as the Junker Queen. They're going to rotate around this Mega Room now. Try and get behind Queen's Gambit, who have planted their feet firmly on this point. Going to use that commanding shout to get into the fight, and by Polar Bear is able to track down Vincio, trying to wall ride on that middle pillar. They're going to be able to trade, though, a support for a support. Jinx falls next, and the story of this match has just been trades. Bipolar Bear so damn low. Unfortunately, even with the death of Bipolar Bear, Weo cannot get the job done elsewhere.
I mean, just a huge work by Bergenworth on this trace. So just been incredibly difficult to dislodge. Taxi is going to be back. That does mean that Plate Group can't hold nearly as forward as they might have liked. They're going to have to give up a lot of space to even fight on the objective. But Queen's Gambit still don't have control of that objective. 20% at least going to be accrued. Up to about, let's see, if the fight goes instantly in the favor of Queen's Gambit.
All right, waiting for the Boop's Coda. Do they expect it? Boop gonna go through on the wheel. Unfortunately, that tank passive going to deny the kill as Meow going off the side there, able to dash back on the point, but no recall for Bergenworth, and Meow just dispatches that Tracer quickly, and the point flip gonna come through for Queen's Gambit.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like Plate Group were too excited to fight into that choke, and just pushing through it just took far too much damage, and that allowed Queen's Gambit to just push through. They're not going for any boop shenanigans. They can just push through, win out the frontline trade, and now they're going to be going closer and closer to parity.
Not a super heavy ult advantage, but it is in the favor of Queen's Gambit for the moment. Clean's gonna come out. They have Kitsune Rush ready to go just about, but Weo falls. It is a trade, though, for the Genji of Plate Group, and Plate Group just able to snowball those picks right through, and Queen's Gambit, they get the lead, but not much more.
It looked like Weo actually hit a crazy huge rampage, but it just got fully cleansed, and I think they were hoping for the healing that comes through from the Blaze to keep themselves alive. Didn't work out, obviously. So now it's Plate Group who've got beat advantage. That Kota can spend that on anything rather than just blocking out that rampage, and Vincio, it just has to hold it for when Bipolar rips it. Oh dear lord, the best Jinx goes down at the worst time imaginable.
Yeah, speaking of Vincio, able to jump onto that Kiriko. Jinx falls early. Now, Rampage out. Only going to cleanse the Nunji there, but the commanding shout able to give a little bit of extra overhealth to Weo to weather that bleed damage. And now, Meow helping out Weo in that Junker Queen duel, and Plate Group, they're just going to, try to waste as much time as they can. They get a pick, but it'll be Queen's Gambit's fight.
Yeah, that it will be. I mean, huge beef there from the best Jinx. You can't get picked first as any hero, especially as Kiriko, though, in this composition. That's up there with your Queen dying, with your just inabilities to win the fight after that. And as well, considering what ult advantage you had, and in fact still have, just losing there, absolutely heartbreaking. They can push in. They still have that beat advantage I spoke about earlier, but Widowfire looking to close the gap.
All right, Kitsune Rush out from Jinx. Nunji has one here, should they choose to use it.
Oh,
the
that's
Dragon
an
Blade
Ajax.
comes out in an Ajax from Vincio. The Kitsune Rush Dragon Blade, too much, but it is a trade there. Both Lucios have fallen, and I mean, Weo has decided to come alive here. 2 picks for the Junker Queen of Queen's Gambit. Make that 3. The Kitsune Rush to clean up, maybe a little bit late, but yeah, they're gonna get the job done. Only need 1 more.
Gangnam should have a touch. They'll have the beat for the late fight, and that should be enough to blunt the tip of the spear in that Rampage. But oh dear lord.
Dead! Kota drops the Soundbanger, hits 4 players, but it's going to fade away here very, very quickly. Meow able to avoid the virus there of Gangnam, get the cleanse out. Rampage hits 2 for Weo, and there is no cleanse, no beat, no hope for Plate Group on Oasis. Queen's Gambit take map number 1.
That is just ridiculous. I mean, I thought that fight was over as soon as we saw that Ajax, right? Looked like Vincio just didn't expect the extra weapon speed of the Kissing Rush to allow you to kill through the cast time. But again, it's just Widowfire who just kills everybody. There's no other way of describing it. And then after that, Bergenworth has been so strong, so survivable all map long, just falls over at the end. That is absolutely heartbreaking. And with that, I mean, they have to be early then. The Rampage is uncontested. And first blood's been drawn by the Queen's Gambit. You know, somewhat unsurprisingly, maybe winning out the Queen Mirror there on that one.
That's what I'm gonna say, right? If you are going to play Queen's Gambit in their own game, this is what Queen's Gambit lives and breathes, is the Junker Queen. And the first map was pretty close, right? It's just such a tall task to beat someone on the game that they practice that nobody else does. Because like you said before the match, Orissa's very, very strong right now. Before that, you know, it was the Diva or the Ramatra. Nobody's played Junker Queen in any real capacity for a very long time except Queen's Gambit. We saw right there, we saw why Weo plays this Junker Queen the way that she does. She is that damn good.
And again, it's exactly like you mentioned. It's you don't have that home field advantage. Queen's Gambit, they know all the ins and outs of this matchup. They understand it just a little bit better. Pick has come through. We have the next map. Play Group have elected to go to Hollywood next, and I've got to say, I do like this a lot on the condition that they don't mirror the Queen. If you mirror the Queen, I think we're just going to continue seeing the same with this, where it's close but no cigar. Hollywood allows you to move away from that Junker Queen, go towards an Orisa for the longer sidelines, or a Monkey, for example, to act as the high ground in first and second. Especially, either of those I think would be a lot stronger as long as you don't fully jump into the front line. Options like this, avoiding this mirror, I think that's where Play Group can find this difference.
Yeah, and it's where they're gonna have to, because I genuinely, unless they just have some kind of hero plays by by Polar Bear or Gangnam, which we saw a couple times on that first map. Unfortunately, moments just weren't enough to win games. You need to put a lot of those moments together, and Game's just better at that. I agree. I think they do need to change it up. I'm not really 100% sure what Plate Group had been practicing. If it's that Junker Queen, I don't know why they would be practicing.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if they were like hard scrimming JQ.
Yeah, that would catch me a little bit off guard if that's what I was told if I had those scrim codes. But I feel like you just have to do something different from them, because you're not gonna beat them at their own game, right? They created this basically. It's this is what they do. Like I said, they live and breathe this Junker Queen composition. So whether it's the Winston, like a Diva for Peel, I mean the Junker Queen is just jumping on the backline every time Leo gets the opportunity. I mean, a dive, or like you said, the Orisa. I feel like you have to choose one of those, because I really don't see a world in where you consistently beat Queen's Gambit at Queen.
Yeah, I fully agree. Now we're going to go to a short break so I can get my ass off to business, and Meglas can come in. She has been awoken from the virtual slumber, so we'll see you guys in a little bit.
welcome back, everybody. Spectrion, you're looking a little bit different.
Yeah, less British, less cool. Really a downgrade all around. But hey, you know what? We're here. We're chilling. And we've got this match going on. I just had to, it was so good. I just had to tap in. That's exactly what the story is going to be for the day here. Queen's Gambit up 1-0 right now, and I think we're going to Hollywood.
Yeah, we're going to Hollywood here. Me and Spec were talking about before the quick break there. We saw on SNO a couple of weeks ago Queen's Gambit only play Junker, right? And I don't know how much of the first map that you saw, but Play Group tried to fully mirror their Junker Queen composition. It was not. It looked okay at times, but obviously when you've got a team that practices these off-meta compositions constantly and entirely, they're usually going to be better at it. And that was the case on a map where, the Junker Queen could have been a liability on Oasis. And once again, we're heading into a map like Hollywood where a Junker Queen can be a liability, where a dive can be strong because there is so much high ground.
Exactly, and when you're thinking about it, you still have to at least give props to Play Group, right? Not many people would willingly just try to counterpick into the Junker Queen, right? There were still some solid fight wins there. It wasn't like a complete stomp, so it shows that Play Group does know their stuff. But yeah, just pick the map where you're comfortable, you can force a lot of the dive. These high grounds, unlike Oasis where there's still some decent pathing for the Junker Queen, it's going to be incredibly difficult to actually maneuver this Junker Queen onto high ground. It's going to result in the waste of the shouts, result in the waste of those speed boosts if you're running the Lucio and things of that nature. So it just becomes overall much harder here, and I think that's why you're already seeing Queen's Gambit be like, yeah, we can't play that right now, but this is going to be a real test for them, right? We talked about it all season long. They're pretty much a Queen OTP team. So now seeing them flex onto these meta comps, these more stable comps, we have to see how good they really can be.
Yep. So it'll be the dive for Queen's Gambit, a little bit out of character. Well, a lot of it out of character, I guess. But I guess there is a reason that Play Group has decided to bring us here, because they know that they can't really compete in that that full mirror, at least consistently, right? So they're taking us to a map where the Junker Queen, is not as good, right? So it'll be the dive for Queen's Gambit, and I'm almost certain we're not going to see Bipolar Bear on the Roadhog. So we will see, because that looked like a dive comp to me.
Besides
I'm not really. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the rest of the comp looked like they were getting ready to dive.
I believe if we can, if we get that April Fool's patch where Roadhog's hook acts as a grapple, maybe that's the day that we can see the hog dive comp. But until that day comes, we are just going to be continuing to operate with the tried and true. But interestingly enough, like you talked about with the dive, there are a few different flavors people have been running around with right now, right? We've seen the Winston sort of making a resurgence, people more confident on the hero, whereas on the other side of things, Devo was very strong for a long time, still very strong. Some people can argue that, the Diva might get more value, right? Those micro missiles can absolutely chunk into some of these other tanks and remove them from the equation. And then you have your more off-meta dive options like the Wrecking Ball, like the Doomfist, that can sort of just come in, be an unexpected shock, but they are easily dispatched by, pretty much any of the CC that is in the game. And speaking of CC, Queen's Gambit, they are running that on a break backline. So, Winston is going to get displaced quite a lot by the break flail. That sleep dart is an option. Really, it's going to be on Play Group to decide what they want to go with. Play Group's actually running. This is ballsy. This is ballsy as it gets.
Yeah, and if Queen's Gambit sees this, they're going to say, hey, screw it. We will mirror this because we think we're better, but now we will see what is going to happen as Play Group comes out on this Junker Queen composition. Gangham, as we saw on that first map, able to find a lot of value, gets that first pick pretty easily. Bacteria answers with a beautiful focusing beam. A little bit of peel there from Vincio to jump onto that Tracer. Birkenworth very, very low, able to get out, stay alive. Now, we see the jump come in from Weo as once again Bacteria has burned down another. Gangham able to get that trade though. Jinx for Bacteria, gonna try and keep this fight rolling on the point, maybe grab a Tig. Very, very close to that 33%. Weo going to be the next to fall for Queen's Gambit. Bipolar Bear was anteed up for a moment there. Nunji under a lot of pressure by both the Genji and the Tracer. If they could find one of these picks, that would be incredible for Plate Group, but Nunji is able to get rid of that nasty little Tracer, and now that the Bipolar Bear has decided to take over the game, it'll be Plate Group taking this first fight.
They'll be taking it on this Queen comp, making the dive look inferior here. Queen's Gambit already making some switch ups. Actually, you have Widow's Fire on the Ramatra for the time being, not wanting the Queen right away here, but as we are just seeing a bit of chase here, Kota having to drop low, making sure to not die to those sticky bombs. But, you know, the interesting thing about this next fight is it is going to be the rally probably versus the Blade here, depending on how aggressive Plate Group's been going.
Get ready for Bacteria, but Wio is so low.
Oh.
Has to get the nano boost to even have a chance at staying alive. Now just sprinting to this elevator to try and catch up to the Plate Group, and what an anti-grenade there from Nunji. Hits 4, and you know, it won't be any immediate cleanup, but they're going to be able to drop Gangnam there. Sleep there on to Bipolar Bear, forces the Junker Queen down to the low ground. Another little anti there on to that JQ. Gets the cleanse, has the rampage should they want to let it rip, but health too low. Plate Group gonna lose out here.
Yeah, and it was a very odd fight the way it kind of ended up getting lost there in the end. Plate Group, they gave up high ground. They sort of just got caught by a bit of damage, and, you know, not wanting to waste, they just simply reset. But now all 5 ultimates online for them. Meanwhile, Queen's Gambit, they still are holding on to the rally and this duplicate, but that might just not be enough to weather this storm. Because again, Plate Group, they're coming in with everything, and they're going to be able to find value somewhere, you would assume.
From the high ground, Queen's Gambit lays the damage in, trying to anyway. Now, a couple of great stickies there from Bacteria, not going to be able to find a focusing beam though. Now the Rampage is out, but the immortality frames of Bacteria deny the anti-effect there. Unfortunately, the backline not going to be so lucky, though. Bipolar Bear and Bergenworth will fall, so it is a 2-for-2 trade. The Rampage, the only ultimate they use, and as Jinx goes down, Kota follows. Plate Group gonna lose out here.
In the Rampage, it was going to be difficult to end up getting value with it, right? Queen's Gambit, their composition is playing so unbelievably split, which it kind of can, right? The Ana and the Break have to stay somewhat close proximity to each other. Everybody else can really be a solo agent, you know, in these engagements here. So now, heading into this next one, Plate Group, I'm expecting them to try to go forward with the Blade now that they know the rally's forced out. But Gangnam, I mean, you still have to actually find some picks with the Blade.
Now Rio just taking so much damage, has the Annihilation ready to go. Now the Kitsune Rush, it's been such an electric combo for them, this Rush Blade there as Gangnam cuts down 2, and now they're going to try and jump on this Ramatra as they clean up this fight.
Yeah, and it's going to be very crucial to get that stagger pick onto the Ramatra here, because coming into this next fight, Queen's Gambit have a deadly ult combo of their own, the Nano Annihilation, in a situation where a lot of Plate Group, if not all of their members, are going to be stacked up on the payload here. So it is going to be a close affair, but it seems like nobody touches. The Plate Group is able to get point B after Queen Gambit just neglects a touch.
Plate Group continue to press the advantage. The anti comes through, and unfortunately, Bipolar Bear did not receive the sound barrier from Kota. And there's going to be trades here as Bacteria continues to get super aggro, as Bergenworth also does that. But now Queen's Gambit, it was messy. They got to back up.
It was messy, yeah, but I mean, the close respawns for Plate Group is going to enable them to get this payload moving. Actually, probably a questionable place to fully commit that Annihilation, right? I mean, the door was still opening. It was it was almost passive time for Plate Group here. So now, onto the Junker Queen. We have a bit of a mirror situation. It's just that Ana hanging on now because of the Nano Boost. Probably looking to apply that to the Queen to maybe give Widow an advantage here in this next fight.
Bipolar Bear sitting off on the off angle. Commanding shout out from Leo Meow, very low. Able to get away is Bipolar Bear, not quite able to find the Nano there. And now the Nano onto Wio, gonna find it onto the Kiriko. Able to get rid of the Kiriko. Bipolar Bear antied one more time, and Kiri's dead. No cleanse there at all. Now it's just Gangnam left as Wio able to clutch up the fight.
able to clutch up the fight here so that payload progress will finally stop for the moment here. Queen's Gambit can take a deep breath. But, you know, Plate Group, they're going to want to keep up this momentum, keep up this aggression that they have behind them right now. They have a Pulse Bomb to work with. They're coming up on another Blade Kitsune combo here. And I don't think anything from Queen's Gambit is going to come online in time to save them.
Well, that's a great start as Bergenworth falls early. Vincio will get traded, but there are no Lucios left in this fight. Dragon Blade enters the fray from Gangnam, but is Gangnam going to be able to find anything with it? No! So no combo here for Plate Group as Queen's Gambit continue to roll after switching.
I mean, yeah, massive pick here. This is buying more and more time here for Queen's Gambit, right? They're starting to feel themselves. They're back into the swing of things on this Junker Queen comp. That being said, it's going to be a now perilous fight here when you're looking at it, right? It's going to be the trade of these Junker Queen ults. Both Kirikos have a large job ahead of making sure the Cleansing Suzu is held for the right time to get that anti off of their team.
But Bergenworth, even with the stick on that Junker Queen, will get taken down. The Rampage out from both Junker Queens, each one good for one kill. Now, Bipolar Bear finding a nice little knife there as Vincio gets aggressive, and the aggro Lucio helps to take down Jinx, and it still is just messy fight after messy fight, and this favors Queen's Gambit especially because they have another Rampage. It's gonna hit Gangnam, who is antied up and taken down, and Plate Group are just gonna have to live here.
Plate Group's momentum has been completely stuffed, sent back, and reset here. And now we're heading below 30 seconds. This means this could be a final fight situation here. Plate Group just clutching onto their Sound Bearer. Meanwhile, Queen's Gambit, they've got it all in spades right now. A Sound Bearer, a Kitsune Rush, and a Dragon Blade.
There is the Kitsune Rush, gets the Sound Barrier out before Meow pulls that Blade. Sound Barrier now as well from the side of Queen's Gambit, pulling the Blade out of the sheath. Down goes Jinx, cut in half is Kota, and it's a beautiful end to a stalwart defense right at the end of Hollywood for Queen's Gambit.
Yeah, I mean, they had a lot of momentum going for them. I mean, again, we have to give Plate Group credit. They got pretty damn far and playing into what Queen's Gambit wants, but the second Queen's Gambit was able to adapt and realize that, they were like, wait, why don't we just mirror it right back here? And they were able to continue to find the value. Now, as you see, that payload sitting just around the first corner here, so completely achievable position for Queen Gambit to get on their attack, but you know, there is still going to be some fight back. You definitely have to wonder about point A again here. Both teams, you know, going to have a chance to go back to the drawing board. Do we really want to make this a queen mirror all the way through? Does Plate Group want to actually try to play some of this dive defense and sort of make it work for them here on point A and B? But only time can tell in that situation.
Here we go. Wio and Queen's Gambit decide that this Junker Queen thing has kind of worked out for us in the past. Why fix it if it's not broken? But Plate Group on the other side, they're going all in on this poke. The Ashe, the Torbjorn, Kota on the Brig is a little bit interesting. Maybe they're banking on the fact that Queen's Gambit is going to be on a dive comp and, you know, try and protect Jinx or Bergenworth a little bit there. We'll see how that works out as we get into the attack of Queen's Gambit.
It's going to be a bit of a complicated one, right? We have to make sure as the Sigma that you're not just getting run past and ignored by the rest of this attacking team. You have to make sure that your value's there, you're providing that shielding where it is needed. But meanwhile, Queen's Gambit, their foot is going to be on the gas pedal, right? They're probably going to immediately pass the point, then choose which high ground they want to take away from the defenders here by pushing them off and just simply running up there and demanding the space.
Rio Nunji pathing through the spawn of Plate Group on point B. Into the cafe goes Queen's Gambit, able to get rid of the Torbjorn turret early there as Bergenworth is very, very low. There will be trades. Vincio for Jinx, and now the damage is being dealt all by the Queen's Gambit. Bacteria is very low, but it'll be one tick at the very least for Queen's Gambit.
Yeah, one tick, probably turning to 2 ticks here, as again, they're just assaulting this high ground. Nobody from play group can even come down. They're just dying.
Yeah, Vincio good for 2 as Queen's Gambit decides to lock up the point. Pretty much the story of what we saw on point A for plate group.
No, I mean, nobody from either side of the high ground could come down here, and they just sort of had to wait until the Genji and Echo decided to remove them each one by one from the fight here. So now it's going to be about controlling these high grounds. As you see, Queen's Gambit has already set a vast majority of their members up here just to sort of hold space, not let the Sigma set up as they please. But Lake Group makes no swatch. They're going to try to continue to make this Torbjorn Ashe setup work, where they're just poking enemies out before they can really engage.
Both trying to control this high ground. Queen's Gambit, just, you know, killing on that cart. You see Vincio down there. Now, I mean, it's just a poke duel, and I don't know if you noticed the composition. That is gonna favor plate group for a while. They're just taking all the free card progress. That plate group is going to give them. The Echo tries to come in from the back side, and unfortunately no duplicate coming through, but the Dragon Blade Kitsune Rush combo only good for 1. Bipolar Bear so very low, and it's just an excellent job from Queen's Gambit to collapse on the vulnerable players for plate group.
A beautiful collapse here, and now that payload's going to get back to moving. You know, play group, they had a solid plan for that fight, able to get the first pick onto the Echo as well as mitigating the Dragon Blade pretty successfully, but it still just wasn't enough here. Now a heavy ult invest from both squads coming up here, as Queen Gambit still has some tools to work with.
Alright, just get out onto Ashe for Bacteria. I'm not really sure where Bacteria is showing up with that. Rampage is something that I am sure about. It hits 3, it's big. Now, trying to find Kota as that rally fades away. Bob from Bergenworth. Gonna truck through Bacteria's duplicate. Bergenworth cleans up the Echo proper. Nunji trying to keep their Junker Queen alive behind the dumpster. Commanding Shout. Cleanse to get that health back up. And now, as Queen's Gambit force the remaining players of plate group back and away, a very small man just jumped on top of Nunji, took it down the Kiriko, and somehow plate group is going to be able to stabilize with the people that were left alive.
I mean, it's a back and forth stabilization effort here, as now you're seeing some members go over to the payload. Somebody from plate group has to touch. Okay.
Yeah, it'll just be a disengage here for Queen's Gambit.
That got scary there for a second. That's the thing with Queen's Gambit. Even when you think the fight is over for them, they're still going to keep engaging. They're still going to keep going. Like, look at this. Kota now removed from some shurikens from Meow means that this Junker Queen is going to be back in your face before you're even really ready for it.
Alright, Sound Barrier ready for the Gravitic Flux, but Gangnam falls. Now the Gravitic Flux just whiffs! Bipolar Bear cannot get the ult rolling! And now, with that momentum, Queen's Gambit are rolling into this C point. Bipolar Bear the last to fall. Queen's Gambit they're just snowballing here.
They're snowballing in a dominant fashion, and they're just going to be able to keep it going here. You know, again, they're going to have a plethora of ults built up here. Plate group, they've completely tapped the bank out here. It's going to have to be a very quick early fight from plate group to sort of force some of these ultimates out from Queen's Gambit, lose that fight, and then get an organic final touch here. But if you let this payload roll anymore, you're going to lose that opportunity of that first fight.
Alright, well, Meow has fallen rather early here. They're trying to walk onto that back line. The Kiriko going to throw out the Kitsune Rush as a intimidation tool, and Bacteria can actually be able to find the first pick. Burns down the Mei, and I mean, the Kitsune Rush was beautiful to keep Gambit in.
Again, like this Gambit squad, they don't know when to quit. In a situation where most other teams would back out and reset, they say, no, let's go in further. Let's just get the job done, because they know they can here. So now with the golden box of victory pushing forward, I don't think there's a touch.
23 meters, but a rampage in the hands of Weo is going to spell doom for plate group. 2-0 for Queen's Gambit, looking to repeat their match in week number 1, but even a little bit better. I mean, Queen's Gambit, they know what they want, and they want to win with this Junker Queen comp.
Yeah, and normally where we've seen opponents give them trouble is when they finally force them off of that, right? Force them to show some adaptability and things of that nature. But it seems as though that's not the case today for Playgroup. They seem to be wanting to opt into the Queen themselves for the most part. And then, when they finally opt off of it, instead of going to a meta, I mean, like, I admire the poke, but the issue is Queen's Gambit, they're playing just way too fast. You're not going to have any opportunity to actually poke that unless you're landing insane headshots. You have to be chunking in just a massive amount of damage to be able to sort of make people worried, make Queen's Gambit start to stagger or wait in their ways.
Could not agree more. But for now, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it will be Playgroup's map selection one more time in this series to see which of the two clash maps they want to take us to. So right now, Playgroup on the ropes. Stick around. We will see which of these teams moves on to the finals.
Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side. My love, you say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yours.
Feel my heart, it's beat tight. All my body's breathing, it's just you and me. Feel my heart, it's beat tight. All my body's breathing, it's just you and me.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Right now, Queen's Gambit on match point. Very, very similar to the Week 1 matchup between these two teams, where Queen's Gambit took the first two maps, but now we head over to Clash, and that's the map type where Play Group was able to get a win.
Yeah, if we're thinking back to the last time these two teams brawled it out, but I feel like Clash has evolved a little bit since then, and I'm starting to believe that it could be a bit of a different affair. Of course, depends on where we go for Clash. There is two options to choose from here, and I feel like Queen's Gambit, you know, they're silently crossing their fingers, hoping for the words Throne of Anubis to pop up on their screen, because that's where people have been running Junker Queen anyway, right? Less high ground to worry about and things of that nature on that map. But, you know, only time can tell here. And yeah, just sort of, again, just think about these compositions, the way these teams are matching up. Queen's Gambit, they just have been coming out better.
And we're just waiting still here for Plate Group selection. Like you said, there's only two of them, right? It's a lot like Flashpoint in that fact, right? I mean, I'm not really sure what is... I am completely baffled right now at Plate Group's strategy coming into this matchup, because I talked about it with Spectreon before we switched, right? This is what Queen's Gambit lives and breathes, right? And we saw it right there. Plate Group they're fine. They're pretty good at the Junker Queen composition. They were able to blow past the Winston dive and the Ramatra brawl of Queen's Gambit when they attempted to do that, you know, on Hollywood. Unfortunately, the second Queen's Gambit decided, hey, screw it, we're just gonna play what we're comfortable on and mirror this Junker Queen composition, the whole map changed on its head. And now, as we head into Throne of Anubis, where Junker Queen is arguably at her strongest right now in this meta, will Plate Group still try to force this mirror, or are they finally going to try and say, hey, we're going to do something different?
I mean, you can't... your other option for different is going to be running the Ramatra compositions that we've seen some teams walk out with, and, you know, that's been varied levels of success here. But that being said, they're coming out on something brand spanking new. I have not seen a team run this specific setup, so they're going to have the Pharah in play, taking advantage of the lack of hit scan that Queen's Gambit has been presenting, but the Wrecking Ball Tracer, so it's going to be very difficult for anybody to get locked down. That being said, it means Jinx has to be playing on some very good angles to make sure that they aren't the one found.
All right, here we go. Point C, as always. Gangnam trying to put the damage in, but that bleed damage is a little too much for Jinx, and you said it, they needed to protect Jinx. They could not protect Jinx, and Gangnam falls, Bergenworth falls. Coda's very, very low. Wrecking Ball going to be a little bit annoying, but it will be Queen's Gambit taking this first point.
Taking it in a very resounding fashion here, because again, the composition, it relies so heavily on its Ana. Lucio just doesn't put out enough of those healings, even, you know, even if the Lucio was just spamming heal, right? You're going to have to be grouped up for that, and Plate Group's comp just does not want to do that at all. And you're already seeing Queen's Gambit sort of take advantage of the space. They're setting up, they're looking for this Ana.
Jinx gonna fall here. Unfortunately, Queen's Gambit, they're running a dive. Just a little duo here. It's the Lucio and the Genji going onto the backline. They're gonna be able to back down, get some healing here. Bacteria's incredibly low. Going to get that healing rolling in the corner. Gonna dive into that dirt, stay alive. Bipolar Bear falls. And just like that, it appears as though Queen's Gambit will move to a +2 points.
Yeah, just quick 2 points, quick as you like. Now heading to the next one. That being said, able to remove Meow, but it is an early removal, so if the Plate Group choose, they can wait for that one. But they're still trying to fight.
With able to dispatch of Weo here, so there is a very, very good opportunity here for Plate Group to grab their first little bit of progress, grab their first point.
I mean, yeah, and being able to do that is massive here. As you see, everybody just on the back point, just trying to capture E. But this means Queen's Gambit, they're going to be able to set themselves up once again here. Jinx, again, this Ana, it feels so out of place. I would love something like a Moira or a Kiriko to come in to give this backline a little bit more survivability and make it just that much harder for Queen's Gambit to run you down.
Bipolar Bear with the minefield ready to go, looking for an opportunity to dive. And as is the Frog here, Vincio trying to jump onto the backline. A little bit of protection now for Jinx. Unfortunately, that bodyguard is gone. Kosa falls, Jinx falls to the hands of Nunji, and Nunji actually kills 3 people, or at least gets the final blow on 3 people, as it will be Queen's Gambit grabbing this point for a second time.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it is technically being stalled out right now, but these last picks could be the...
Whoa.
Ooh, the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, the Rampage as just kind of a big screw you to Jinx there, only landing onto the Ana, and now surely Queen's Gambit are going to lock up this point D one more time.
You would assume so here. It would just be another, like, sort of staggered out touch. Yeah, nobody's going to go for it here. That'll be 3 points for them. And Queen's Gambit still has every other ultimate to work with besides that Rampage, so it is going to be a very difficult defense now for Plate Group here, as this sound barrier, it has to pick and choose what it's going to counter.
Alright, here we go. Dragon Blade, Tectonic Shock, Kitsune Rush, sound barrier. So much in the hands of the Queen's Gambit. Dive gonna come through. There is no cleanse. Sound barrier out. Only hits 2. Bergenworth, and I mean Gangnam, even with the sound barrier overhealth, just not able to weather the storm. Pulse bomb out. Unfortunately, Bergenworth, even with that pulse bomb, gets a drill. Hit the whole drill right through them. Now this Wrecking Ball just shoved into a locker here. Queen's Gambit trying to lock up their 4th point and maybe even a 5th.
Yeah, and it's just going to be the cleanup in this current situation. The Kitsune Rush might just be the exclamation point here. But Plate Group, they have to believe, they have to keep coming into this one, but that's their first pick gone.
One more pick remains, separating Queen's Gambit from the finals. Meow, though, going to fall here, and now Queen's Gambit say, hey, we have gotten what we wanted, we are going to disengage.
Yeah, and choosing to get that disengage, let Plate Group have it. I mean, you know, it's actually probably the best decision you can make, because right now Queen's Gambit, they have all the power already being up to 4. Plate Group is the one that's going to have to overinvest, overcommit to all of these points, because they can't drop another one. Otherwise, it's going to be game, set, match.
All right, 1 more point for Queen's Gambit. Gangnam good for 1. It's a trade, but so very low as Meow and Weo dive 1 more time together. He was able to get rid of the Lucio for the side of Plate Group, throw down the minefield. Bipolar Bear still, though, keeping Plate Group in this fight by sending Weo right into the danger zone, into that minefield. And they're going to be able to weather the storm here for 1 more point at the very least.
Yeah, but this is what I'm worried about. You had to invest both Barrage and Minefield there. Meanwhile, Queen's Gambit, they can sit on their treasure trove of ultimates and keep building them up here. You now have a Rampage. You still have this Tectonic Shock to deal with. It's going to be incredibly difficult for Plate Group to continue this momentum.
Backline goes, you see Bergenworth. Next here, you're ready to go with this ultimate as well. Just trying to put out some damage TP from Nunji. to get away from harm, but I mean, Meow has been so electric this match. Able to take down Bergenworth early. Bacteria tracking down Gangnam in the sky. Bacteria will almost fall here. They're going to get rid of the Venture, though, with the help of the Kitsune Rush. Slam comes down, as you can see that Lucio Solo Kota not able to stay alive, and now Queen's Gambit on the verge here. Kota, Meow has this Dragon Blade ready to go. Gangnam falling here to Wio, not even on the point. Sound barrier out to try and keep Plate Group in. Rampage out, hits a couple. That anti-effect does fade away as Dragon Blade is pulled, as well as the Kitsune Rush summon. What can they do here to stay alive? Plate Group falling over one by one, cut in half by Wio, and 5 points now for Queen's Gambit makes that a 3-0 victory. They will find themselves in this Masters Tier Finals.
Yeah, that Clash map, it's just such a decisive mode when you go up 4 points like that initially, right? It just puts you in such a great position where you can forfeit points after that fact and time yourself for your fight, your time, draining the enemy team of resources, and Plate Group was the victim of that here, falling by the wayside. Very, a team that shows some good confidence, some good promise, willing to come into this knowing Queen's Gambit, how good they are, and trying to mirror and play their own style at them. It's just, it's something that has to be admired, but, I mean, Queen's Gambit is the one walking away with that victory.
Yeah, and now, I mean, I'm excited for this final, right? This is, Queen's Gambit is a very, very fun team to watch just because of shenanigan, right? They pull what they want to pull. And today, Plate Group tried to pull the same thing. Unfortunately, usually the team that has had more experience pulling that shenaniganry, they're usually better at it. It's just an unfortunate fact. And I mean, the one map that Plate Group was able to pick up in their first matchup was Hanover, right? And if you were going to run this interesting composition with the Wrecking Ball, you got to believe Hanoka was the right place to go, right? I mean, Throne of Anubis is just not the map to be doing that on. I mean, it is... I am completely baffled because Plate Group won this tier last season, right? This team has been around the block. They've been on the biggest stage before. But the decisions that they made throughout this match have left me questioning. I mean, I just don't understand. They know what Queen's Gambit is going to do. How do you not prepare to play around it? It just makes no sense.
I mean, I think it's just a confidence thing, right? When you're looking at it on paper, this was a Plate Group that was very, very confident. Like you said, they were the champions back and approached the rest of the season, but Queen's Gambit is the ones to celebrate right now, because like you said, they're already locked into a spot in the finals.
Yep. And, just to, for clarity's sake, there is, nothing, super, super big waiting for these teams at the end of the tournament. It's for an extra win, and that's not small, right? That could be a good thing for later on the season if you drop a match, and it could help you out in the standings right now. That's what is waiting at the end of the tournament. So, obviously you want to win. It's going to help. But for now, we're going to cut it to a break, and when we come back, we will have an interview with somebody from the side of Queen's Gambit, and we will get to talk to them and see how they're feeling about their trip to the finals.
Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And one more time, everybody, give it up for Weo, our second interview with Weo this season, a couple of weeks ago after they got their win on SNO. Weo, y'all are in the finals. How y'all feeling?
Just a breeze. To be honest. It's actually the hardest probably matchup we could have got, I think, on paper anyway, other than 07. But well, it was a lot easier today for some reason.
A little bit easier. That certainly sends a message to the opponent.
Yeah.
They just played better in the first game we played, like in the first like week. Plus, I don't know why there was mirroring Queen, but up to
Yeah,
them.
that's what I want to ask about, because I had some questions about their propensity to mirror the Junker Queen composition. When y'all saw that, was that like a what are they doing moment, or like what was y'all saying when y'all saw that the attempted mirror?
On the first map, we're kind of like, okay, it's a decent brawl map, okay, maybe trying something out. But we know they've got a really strong ram brawl in brawl comp, and I'm like, I was expecting that. And we pulled out the queen, and we just like, the queen mirror. And especially on the second map, Hollywood, I just threw his forward. That's why I kept. So I was on monkey, I was on ram, and that's like, I was like, dang it, I'll just switch queen and just beat the queen mirror, since we're just so better at it. But it it confused us. I think that's the plan, but other than that, it's a bit weird from their part.
Alrighty, I mean, hey, that, more than understandable there. I believe you had actually mentioned, and, this is a great question to ask. You had some new players in the lineup here. Maybe switching up the team, or just who was available on the day? Any reason for it?
Basically, after our last street match, we had some personal problems, and they had to leave the team. So we did like trials week after. Picked up 2 new DPS players from Kuwait, and they've been really well, playing really well. They're very like fit into the vibes of the team, and it's very good. Like Bacteria was like silent carry today, I would say. He did a lot. Unfortunately, our hit scan could not make it since it was such a last minute like tournament thing today. We didn't expect to be playing today. But, yeah. We worked fine with Bacteria.
Yeah, I mean, not only Bacteria looked great, y'all all looked great. And you talked about, being here so that you could talk a little bit of mess to the other side of the bracket, which I believe that match is going to be played on Thursday between 07 and Shenzhen Strikers. I know that you really want to play 07. What have you got to say to them? Either of those teams really, before y'all play them in the finals.
If you lose to Shenzhen, I'm very disappointed. But you've been talking so much talk, and you need to prove it with this. You might feel pressure, but if you lose to Shenzhen, I'm gonna be really disappointed, since you talk so much just like crap to us, saying that you're gonna be the best team. Like, you cancelled the scrim because you was a console, blah blah blah. But if you just don't make finals, then it's probably just worth not scrimming you.
All right, I love that. I love the energy. But Weo, before we head off here tonight, do you have anybody you want to shout out? Anybody? Anything else you want to talk about that you think might be important for the people to know?
You try mirrors and you'll lose. That's about it. Also, sorry Tim for taking your interview. I'm very sorry for taking your interview. Just never mirror a queen versus. That's all I ask. It's just gonna be an embarrassment to everyone.
I mean, hey,
Right.
absolutely, I get that. So go on, let you celebrate. We're gonna go let you celebrate with your team. Enjoy that. We'll be seeing you in the finals whenever that ends up being scheduled. And thank you for taking the time to talk with us.
No worries. Have a fun rest of your night, everyone.
Well, that was Weo of Queen's Gambit, the Junker Queen here in the EU Masters tier. Queen's Gambit, they're still on a tear this season, Megalast. They've lost a couple of maps here and there, but they're only getting better. And that is a scary, scary thought when, you think about this team. They're not playing the best composition that's available. They're playing their best composition available. And even if that's not like the peak in S tier composition, they're going to make it work. And it has not failed them yet.
Yeah, and you just, you start to think in the back of your head, is there a falling point? Is there a point where they can actually be caught off guard? And you know, who knows? It might be that grand finals we finally see. You know, if that 0-7 match goes according to plan, with 0-7 getting the victory on paper, I mean, eventually that means one of these two teams has to get their first loss of the season, and it will be on no grander stage.
Yep. Now, we're going to head off here tonight. But tomorrow, we've got some more EU action. It looks like we've got a squad lined up for the Mirai versus Everfrog in the EU PC Open Tier mid-season tournament there. That one should be a lot of fun, but Megalas, this is only the beginning. A big week of Overwatch here in CGL has only just begun. Unfortunately, our stream has not just begun. It begun about an hour and a half ago. So it's coming to an end now. Getting ready to head off here tonight. Do you have anything else to say before we head off?
Overwatch is good. Tons more mid-season action up ahead. Make sure you're clicking the follow button. Earn your CGL tokens. It's great.
Yeah, and so I basically typed that into a text-to-speech. That's what that sounded like to me. The AI on the other side of me had some stuff to say. That is awesome. Thank you, Megalas, for the shout out there. Yeah, hit the follow button. Come check us out. There'll be a lot of Overwatch happening this week. Damn near every day, I can imagine. Tuesday through Sunday. Should be a lot of fun. But as for now, we are going to head off, and we will see y'all again tomorrow.